Well, the small man is always full of anxiety. The master said, "The gentleman understands what is moral. The small man understands what is profitable." The master said, "A goo that is not a proper goo. Is it really a goo? Is it really a goo?" The Analects was put together decades or possibly centuries after Confucius died, allegedly by his disciples. There are later books attributed to him or in which he appears as a character, but as far as we know, we don't have anything written by the man himself. At time of recording. I say at time of recording because one of the awesome things about ancient philosophy is we could find a Zhou dynasty tomb tomorrow with some scrolls in it that totally revolutionizes everything we think we know about Confucius. The whole field can and does change overnight. People have been writing commentaries on the Analects for thousands of years, and every commentator brings their own spin to it as a result of the context they're living in. That includes, by the way, me. So just bear in mind that the true meaning of the text, if there is such a thing, is not as interesting as what we can do with it now. Even his name, Confucius, is a later interpretation. It's actually a Latinization of Kong Fuji, which means Grandmaster Kong.
Say disco! Say party!
So before we get to anything else, obviously this was written in Chinese. What the hell is a goo? Now, the Cambridge Chinese to English Dictionary defines goo as, "We have stolen your dictionary, nerd. Send us Bitcoin if you ever want to see it again." But even knowing that definition, it still feels like I'm missing some context. To be fair, Plato and Aristotle, or any of the other ancient philosophers that get studied a lot in the West, didn't write in modern English either. But Chinese can be especially tricky because it doesn't have an alphabet the way English or ancient Greek do. Take the English word alphabet. We know that A means an A sound. L is a L sound, PH is F. So you see the whole word and you go alphabet, right? Chinese characters, on the other hand, do not represent sounds. They represent syllables and occasionally entire words. The advantage of this system is you can write a lot of information in just a tiny amount of space. European monks are writing out the Bible one letter at a time on vellum. Meanwhile, in China, I've made 500 copies and written a novel before I've even had lunch. One scroll, bam, done. And, get this, spelling changes a lot faster than characters do. Ever tried to read the Canterbury Tales? Fucking incomprehensible. And that was only written 600 years ago. Whereas if you know traditional Chinese characters, you can find an ancient scroll in a tomb and read it. But the downside is this. This character means electricity, or thunderstorm, or lightning, or electric. And this means brain, which itself is a combination of characters including flesh, clever, and think. Put the two together and you have
Clever thunderstorm flesh that thinks.
Or
Smart fluid thinking electric meat.
Or
Electric brain.
Or computer. This is it's just the Chinese word for computer. Can you guess the problem? Philosophy tends to use extremely technical and specific language, and occasionally invents entirely new concepts. And if you're translating, you want to capture the nuances without making it cumbersome, like clever thunderstorm flesh that thinks. So there's a lot of haggling over precise wording. Here's a controversial example. Analects 4:15 says, "The way of the master consists in zhong and shu." That is all. Okay, good to know. If we can figure out what zhong and shu mean, then we've cracked it. So, what do they mean? Well, zhong has been translated as loyalty, respect, reverence, doing your best, and devotion, among other things. And shu has been translated as reciprocity, altruism, forgiveness, consideration, and occasionally the entire phrase, "do unto others as you would have them do unto you." Okay. The Cambridge Chinese to English Dictionary defines shu as, seriously, if you ever want to see your dictionary again, transfer Bitcoin by tomorrow, which again is a completely different meaning. For the last 2,500 years, different philosophers have had subtly different interpretations, to the point where if you pick up a copy of the Analects today, it might seem weird and even contradictory, because it could be a mishmash of different translations. Some people have even turned around and blamed Chinese philosophers for being vague and weird, when really the problem could be that the text has been distorted.
The Chinese never had a secular enlightenment, and that's why you can't understand a bloody word they're saying. Chinese philosophers simply never had the rigorous commitment to logic and truth that their counterparts did in the West.
And the fun doesn't stop there. Let's say we translate zhong as devotion. Okay, Confucius wants us to be devoted. To what, though? To other people? To the country? To tradition? You've kinda gotta read the rest to figure it out. And that only multiplies the problem. And shu, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You might recognize that phrase from the Bible, or the Torah, or the Hadith. It's the so-called golden rule of morality. And there's a lot of argument over how exactly you're supposed to translate it. Is it do unto others as you would have them do unto you? Or is it do not do to others what you wouldn't want them to do to you? Because those are not the same thing. The first one is actually a lot more demanding. If I have to do unto you what I would want, then I have to help you when you're in trouble. But if it's just, hey, don't treat anybody how you wouldn't want to be treated, then, well, all I have to do is leave you alone. There's been a lot of argument about whether Confucius's golden rule is the easy version or the hard version. Some people have said it's definitely the easy one, and that's evidence for Chinese ethics somehow not being as good.
The Chinese never had a secular enlightenment, which is why they're all a bunch of heartless bastards. Unlike Great Britain, the most ethical country the world has ever known.
But there's also a pretty convincing case to be made that the man himself wouldn't have made that distinction in the first place. And just to put the cherry on the top, Analects 4.15 says the way of the master consists in zhong and shu. That is all. It says that is all. So that's got to be the most important bit, right? Of course we're going to spend hundreds of years writing loads of papers on it and arguing about it. But what if Analects 4.15 isn't actually canon? Translator and philosopher Brian Van Norden thinks it was added later. And if we take that bit out, then suddenly zhong and shu aren't the key to unlocking Confucius, they're just another part of it. God damn it! Fetch me my Lara Croft costume. We're gonna have to raid some serious tombs to get to the bottom of this one. Bottom line, Confucius is difficult. And there are literally millennia worth of commentary on it, to the point where I could make 10 videos on the guy and still not cover it all. So with that in mind, I want to focus down on one aspect of his work in particular. The Jordan Peterson shit. A concept that comes up a lot in Confucius is li, which is usually translated as rituals. Like I said at the top, ancient China had a lot of rules. Rules about when you're supposed to bow, what sorts of clothes you're supposed to wear on what days. There was a lot of ritual sacrifice. There were rules about what music could be played and when. Some elites at the top of society liked to play a little fast and loose with the rituals, like the bloody G family. And often in the Analects, Confucius stresses the importance of following them. The master said, "Do not look unless it is in accordance with the rituals. Do not listen unless it is in accordance with the rituals. Do not speak unless it is in accordance with the rituals. Do not move unless it is in accordance with the rituals." And when I first read that, I found it quite tough to imagine myself into that headspace, because I don't really think of our society as having a lot of rituals like that. And then I realised that we kind of do. We've got little ones like covering your mouth when you yawn or saying excuse me when you burp. Li doesn't just mean like religious services, there's a dimension to it that's like etiquette and propriety as well. It's a motorbike. And then I realised that we sure do have some big rituals here at Parliament.
The British Parliament is an ingenious work of British geniusness. made up of two houses, both